Welcome to today's webinar. The presentation today is Thriving in the ULTRA VUCA COVID era and beyond. Our speaker today is Priya Patra, and I'm the host for today. This session is going to be interactive, as are all our sessions, and we want you to participate using menti.com. So you can see on your screen here, we want you to go to 454593, or to put the code in, 454593 at menti.com. And you can see information about that in the welcome message. During the time in this webinar, Priya is going to ask you to complete a survey. This is to determine your quarantine persona. And we've put the short link to that in the welcome message. And again, we're going to ask you to complete that whilst online. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end of this, so please send your questions in and send them in via the questions box in GoToWebinar. So the Menti responses in menti.com, using that code, your questions in GoToWebinar. And we've made available to the PGU code, although we're going to record this webinar, and then after that to provide you with details of how you can get that recording and slides, etc. So let's move into our first question. And by all means, I know I haven't formally introduced Priya yet, but you might want to comment on this one as to where in the world are you today. We can see that we've now got 65 people on the call, which is brilliant. Numbers are going up as people arrive. And we'll see how many we get. We had 120 people register today, which is fantastic. So I can now see about 70 people on the call and the results coming in. So this is really interesting for us. We're mainly UK based, but I can see that someone has stayed up late there in Australia to join this call, which is absolutely fantastic. And where else? Can't really see anyone in your part of the world, Priya, but you might be able to see some people that are nearby. And many of those places, UK town names won't mean that much to you, but they're all spread throughout the UK. So thank you very much for sending that information in. You might also notice in Menti, we've allowed you to send in comments as well. So this is a new feature in Menti, and we'd love to receive comments as we go through. So a little bit more about our audience. You'll know that this question is one that you have seen before. We want to know what type of project-related job role do you typically perform. So that's a leader role, a delivery specialist, business change, or PMO related. There we are. I can see a nice bit of a comment coming in there. And what Priya is going to do, some of the subsequent responses, she's then going to segment by these groups, which should be really interesting in terms of understanding you as an audience a bit more. So keep sending those results in, and you can see that in leadership roles, 18%, the bulk of people are involved there in actual delivery. A few people like myself in change, or quite a number in PMO in this particular webinar. So that's absolutely great. So keep that information coming in. And finally, in this short section on questions, we want to know, what is your industry sector? What do you typically work in? We know these are unusual times, and many of you may well be changing or having to change where you work, but where do you typically work? Interesting there, perhaps particularly to you, Priya, in terms of IT. I don't know whether you spotted that. In fact, this may be a little different to what we often have. We often have a strong contingent in construction, in engineering, quite often in defence, but a wide range of areas that people are working in. So that's really great. Quite a strong contingent there in finance and financial services. So again, keep that information coming in, and remember, we're going to go to that survey fairly soon. So you would have seen the pen picture of Priya in the the blurb that came with this webinar. But just in summary, Priya is an author, blogger, dreamer, creator, and speaker, which is a pretty wide range of, I suppose, personas, if you like, that we're talking about for Priya. She's a program manager working in digital transformation on a major life sciences program, and she's an Agile Evangelist. She works with a Capgemini community of practice and various other groups so far as Agile is concerned. So she's a real expert in that area. We're absolutely delighted that you've joined us today, Priya. And
Thank you.
She will tell us a little bit more about herself. So did you want us to go to our first question now, or?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much. That was a wonderful introduction, and I loved those many questions as well. So off to our first question. What comes to your mind when you see this word COVID-19 or COVID?
Okay, we'll give people time, and this is going to be another word cloud, so we may well see some of the largest letters.
Chaos, lockdown, change. You know what? I didn't know the meaning of the word quarantine until we came to this COVID era. I didn't know what was social distancing was. I've never heard of it before. But come March 22nd, I came to know a lot of things like, quarantine, social distancing, and of course, all those things that you're writing there, right? Uncertainty, and of course, opportunity, definitely. That's something that I look forward to, change. Yes. So, yes, I've seen these, I've done this webinar, say, at least 5 times now, and I've seen all these, reactions which are coming out from the organizers and the participants in the webinar. So with this, I think, have we done with the poll, or do we want to,
we can leave it open, but
okay.
Shall I'll change presenter for you to show your screen.
Yeah.
So let's do that
Definitely.
now.
Thank you. So I will now share my presentation, if you can see, and I will move your, okay. So that's it, right? I tried to summarize what people were going through by asking this question. So I've done this in Singapore, I've done this in Poland, I've done this in Finland and South Africa. And this is what I get, adaptability. I think you guys also said about change and adaptability as well. And why we say adaptability? Because we've seen how the supply chain industry has got that ability to absorb the shock, how the education industry suddenly went digital overnight, how we as IT professionals, the corporate world invoked our BCP overnight, and the planning that went through to make that 125,000 people in India start working from home. So remote work is there in pockets. It was there pre-COVID era, but come March 22nd, you know what? 125,000 people suddenly started working from home. And that was something which I would say big time adaptability. And the other thing that came up was innovation. Yes, some people said they were looking for opportunities. Yes, these crises and chaos situation are those opportunities where we can innovate. History tells us that when there is a crisis, there is people become more creative. It's a strong driver of creativity and innovation. We have seen, at least in our country, we have seen, low-cost ventilators getting innovated, like rapid testing kits getting innovated. And those are those small things, not big innovations like an iPhone, but the small things which are bringing in, value to the society today. Okay, then we have seen what is called as remote working. I talked about it. We saw contactless or contact free industry coming in, and we saw that, you know, how everyone started doing digital commerce, telemedicine, automation, automating our business processes. Everything started overnight with, you know, COVID-19. So I think that's also a big opportunity to, you know, upskill our people as well as our infrastructure as well as our business processes. Distancing. So we, in the mid 90s, we thought with the advent of the internet, there's a death of distance, because the world, they said, was becoming flat. People are coming close to each other. But with COVID, distancing came into picture again. And according to a study by McKinsey, there is a study which says that there are 3 billion people who live in countries which are other than the countries where they were born. And actually right now 93% live in the countries which has imposed new limits on the entry because of this coronavirus. So what do we do here? Do we need a Superman to come and help us today? Well, we have seen war, famine, disease, fear, uncertainty, doubt. These are the cornerstones that have come to define human beings, even through the darkened world. But there is always hope. And I truly believe it begins with me. And no, you don't have to be a Superman or you have to buy a splashy spandex suit to save the world. I think everything starts with self and self-awareness. But wait a second, I'm aware of what I am, who I am, my personality. But is it really true? Do you think that we are the same person as we were in the pre-COVID era? Well, let us find out. You'll be astonished to see probably that may not be true. There are few people who remain the same, but I think many of us have changed in this COVID era. So let us find out what your quarantine persona is. So there will be a link that Murph might have already typed in the chat window, and you could click on this link, and it is a scored survey. And this is the questions are based on the experience that I went through when this lockdown started. So I work in an IT organization, consulting organization, and I was told that I have to keep the lights on. The business continuity should be on, because I work for a pharma industry. We cannot allow any delay to happen. And we went to an active hypercare mode at that point of time. The number of tickets in a system increased. So there was a big effect on the persona of myself as well as my team. So what do you need to do to take this survey? It's very simple. Just take the survey, man. And at the end, you will get a score and you will get a persona. And all you need to do is introspect. If you want, you can share your persona, that what you've got. If not, you can keep it to yourself. You could introspect and think, am I the same person that I was before the pre-quarantine phase? And we could come up with an action plan. And I will share some tips and tricks to come up with that action plan. So what are those questions that we talked about, right? Let me share my screen and go to the browser and see whether I can share this. Are you able to see the questions as such? My browser screen? Or I don't need to share that again?
You might need to reshare. I've certainly shared the link a couple of times now, so I would imagine that people are completing it. I think what we could do, Priya, is then show the question where people can enter their persona, so we can
definitely. I'm trying to do that, and let me do that. Let me share my screen again. And okay, well,
if I share the Mentimeter screen, let me do that.
Yes,
and then,
yes, that's fine. I can go through the questions. Yeah.
So
show that. Yeah, please do that. And the first question that came to my mind while I was designing this survey is that March 22nd, while I switched off the alarm in my clock, thinking that I can sleep a couple of hours more in the morning, things changed for me. And I became suddenly very, very, very anxious. And I was working from 8 a.m. in the morning till midnight. When I was getting an email at the middle of the night, I would take up my phone and I would immediately respond to it. I was very anxious. I was very, because of that uncertainty and the chaos that was going around. I didn't know how to manage my team. I didn't know how to manage myself, probably. I didn't know whether, how can I add value to my customers? How can I ensure that the system is on and it can live up to that load that we are expecting? Even over the weekends, the second question is about how I was reacting over the weekends. Even over the weekends, I kept catching up on work, and because I knew this is extraordinary times, and probably it's not the time that I can take some off, but probably I was not doing something right. We always had a touch base call at 11 a.m. and I would probably join and be very active, responding to everything, every damn question that was asked there. And I would, try to get as much data as possible that was required by the leadership team. Just remember, I'm in a leadership position and I had people who were, working around the clock to ensure that we have business continuity. And we had to send out, even it meant that I had to send out the data in the middle of the night. I would do that. And I would start a first meeting with my teams and start the data gathering exercise. And not only was I putting myself under stress, I was putting my team also under stress. And when my colleagues were trying to reach me, I would also be very active and, kind of always be available, like a always on situation for the first 2 weeks. And as a leader, I thought that I need to connect with my team and be, take them through those difficult times. And at one occasion when we saw that, the customer said that they had budget problems and they wanted to reduce operations, even before thinking anything, I started planning for the ramp down. Well, that's not something which I would do as a normal self. During coffee or tea break, also, I would keep catching up emails on my phone. And trust me, I was not like that before quarantine phase or before when I was working before pre-COVID era. I would be very relaxed. My friends, my team actually liked working with me. And with the quarantine era, I was like kind of, bothering everyone, including myself. So that's a good response that I'm seeing here, Murph. And I'm glad to see most of us are not workaholic. Yes, that could be because we have passed through the first few weeks of the pandemic and we are now used to what we are doing. And I have also moved from this workaholic to the balanced one persona. And I also see 11% being very chilled. Okay, that's also quite good. So I wish so that's a good percentage that I see, because when I conducted this persona thing for the Mumbai chapter, that was the first 2 weeks of the quarantine. Most of us were in the workaholic phase. But as I moved from one country to another and we moved through the pandemic, I see the shift happening to the balanced one. We are regaining ourselves. Yes. So can we see the segmentation of this data, Murph? Is this possible?
Yeah, let's do that. As we do that, I was going to confess I ended up in the workaholic, much to my concern. And Nigel Smith, who gave a very good presentation last week, I compared notes with him, very much the balanced one. So so he's obviously doing something right, I think. But there we are. So we're back to those groups that we had at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So that looks good. Leadership seems to have moved from the workaholic to the balanced one, which is good. Because if the leaders are not being anxious like me, then I'm not a true leader. I'm creating problems for myself, my peers, my managers, everyone. And let me tell you a story. My manager was a pretty balanced person. He never bothered us by calling us after work or something. But being in the quarantine phase, suddenly he became very anxious. And we were not used to him working that way. And we also started feeling very anxious. And if I am anxious, my team will also become anxious because I'll be bothering them. And that's a good thing that I saw. And I see project delivery operations specialists are also 13%. 13% is that, or what is that? 58%. Okay, they are in the balanced phase, which is also very good. And yeah, the chilled one, the 10%, is a mix of project delivery specialist and the leadership people. Okay, that's a good insight. Now let's yeah, I think I will move on to my presentation now. Yeah.
There we are. You can now share your screen.
I will. Okay, just a moment, and I will go to the presentation mode again. So I will just see, just touch on the few points of the different personas. So if you've got a score from 250 to 400, yes, you are probably in the workaholic range. Okay, I was doing this session for the Finland guys, and they were very anxious. They said, "Oh, I'm not workaholic. I do take my coffee breaks. How come I my personas come as workaholic?" I said, "Come on, chill down. What is your what is your score?" Then that guy said it is 250. Then I asked, "I do take coffee breaks," he said. I said, "Do you check your emails on the while taking a break?" I do. So probably you are a borderline case. Yeah. So as you all know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And workaholics are actually in those areas. Although I was working 13 hours a day, I was not productive. My problem solving and creativity was diminishing. And usually I can come up with some cool ideas. And at that point of time, I was like totally in stagnant. I didn't know what to do because I was working too much. And, it was having a bad effect on my, not a good effect, I would say, on my family as well. Because with the quarantine, all usually before quarantine, I used to have 3 household maids to come and do my household chores. And with the quarantine, everything suddenly stopped. My support pillar started crumbling, and I had to take care both of my household chores as well as my kids, as well as my work. And if I was putting more time on my work, then my family had to take care of those activities, which is again dysfunction. It also adds to the team's dysfunction because I've been writing emails to them in the middle of the night and they become suddenly anxious. They have to respond because a manager is writing to them. And if my boss is also workaholic, then probably I would also feel that I can never take a break, even if I want to take a break. So those are the pros and cons of being a workaholic, and I'm sure people know what is good for them. And I'm so glad to see that people have moved from the workaholic area to that of the balanced area. We are getting more and more used to what we were before in the first few days of the quarantine. Now the balanced one. So if you've got a score from 90 to 249, you are probably a balanced person. And it is really, really tough to be a balanced person in this always on situation right now. It is tempting to answer every call that comes your way, every email, even during off hours. But it takes a lot of self-discipline to ensure that you are setting that good example for your team members. And for your team members, you can always let them know what their options are. For example, we have started taking breaks at scheduled times. So we know that, at this point of time from say 12 to 1, no one will be available because one will be out for lunch. Yes, although we are not going out, we are at home, but still we will not be having screen time at that point of time. So we've set up a schedule with our team. We know exactly when everyone will be available. And we kind of got used to this way of working. And I think that has made our team a more balanced one person. And when I say it is a chilled one, okay, these are the people like who have scored around 0 to 89. And these are those people like, I will listen to the music at my own volume because I'm working from home. I will pet my pet whenever I want to. What can go wrong, right? But obviously there has to be some self-discipline. Effect on yourself, yes. I would be losing out on the race. These are extraordinary times. And if I participate in this, all these BCP planning and all these unique ways or innovative ways of keeping the business on, I'm obviously enhancing my skills and my experience as well. And in this case, if I'm too chilled out, if I'm okay, balanced one, I'm fine. But if I'm too chilled out, then it is not a good effect on my team morale as well. And with that, which means that they get stressed. And I've seen cases where people are so cool and chilled out, they don't even bother. They come late to the meeting. They don't even bother to turn up, and their subordinates have to look after them and catch up with the work that they are missing on. And it's really being counterproductive for the team. If you become too chilled, if you're a balanced one, it is fine. So the best thing to do is to be in the balanced category. Okay, so now we know that what kind of a persona I am. Yes. And do you think that agility can help me to thrive through this ultra VUCA world or this COVID era? And again, there is a poll. I think Merv has already shared on the screen. Yes. So, oh, that is so cool. 80% says no. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. But some people say yes. Okay. The 79 is going down. I love this interactive polls.
Yes.
It gives such a,
Good.
yeah, it gives me the pulse of the audience because I'm not able to see the expressions, but I really can understand what people are thinking about this. So majority of us think that, agility may not be enough. And that's something which is like, for years we thought, we spoke, we deliberated, we discussed about the VUCA world, and we discussed and we found and we thought how agility can help us to navigate through the VUCA world. But no one ever expected that we would be in such a ultra VUCA situation this COVID era. Let us see the segmented data as well. Okay. So leadership, interestingly, thinks that agility is not enough. Okay, and project delivery specialist also thinks. Okay, majority of us think that it may not be enough. PMO related people also think it may not be enough. Yes. Okay, there are few people. 27 of us. We think that maybe agility can help us thrive and survive in this COVID era. Okay, that's a good insight. So, okay, let me go back and explain why we think that. Yeah.
Let me just again give you sharing permission. Sorry about the slight delay. There we are.
Sure, I got it. Okay, so we have spoken about this, and now we'll come back to your and we'll talk about why do you think agility. Okay, the COVID era pandemic gave us plenty of opportunity to think about uncertainty and complexity and how to deal with them with agility. And many of us, as we said, were told to keep the business on, or we had to keep the business on. And that's an important way. I think that's business agility, isn't it? Yes. The importance of agility has gone significantly high. That is true. While we are actually becoming agile because but it becomes very hard because do not have physical contact. There's a physical distancing with our teams, with our customers, as well as we have to juggle with some extra responsibilities at home. Another thing which comes here is that getting used to the virtual communication tools, how to ensure that your team is still getting that amount of interactivity as we used to have in a face-to-face meeting. Agility talks about inspecting and adapting, right? Responding to change, right? Over following a plan. So if you look at this, things are changing very, very, very rapidly in this chaotic world, in this turbulent world today. So do we have that luxury to sit back, think, and inspect, and then take an action? Maybe not, because things, if I'm still inspecting and adapting and trying to make a change or responding to the change, that may not be enough right now. Yes, agility is an important factor and the importance goes up, but that alone may not be enough to survive or thrive. Maybe survive, but not to thrive and evolve out much better from this chaotic world. So what else do we need, right? So what about resiliency? Do you think resiliency is enough? Now, what is resiliency actually? I will just give pause for a moment for you to introspect and see what actually resiliency is. Okay. And, I saw this thing on World Economic Forum, and where they were saying that when the people talked about, leaders, they said IQ is very important. Yes. And then came the EQ. IQ, as you all know, is the total score that is derived from some standardized test to assess human intelligence. Okay. Emotional quotient is the ability of the individual to recognize their own emotions as well as that of others and take appropriate action and manage those emotions. But another third component that comes into picture right now is RQ, which is a resilience quotient. Now, what is resiliency? Resiliency also relates to human brain. It is the ability to withstand or avoid the damage without suffering complete failure. So, in fact, resilience is actually energy management. But how do you maintain this energy to keeping on and ensure that you don't completely break or fail, but come back to the position that you were before the stress was applied to you, right? So that is what we call resiliency. And just to give you an example, if resiliency would be this, I have an iPhone, I drop it on the floor, and if this does not break and it remains as it is resiliency. So today, resiliency, IQ, EQ, and RQ is the ability to survive during this turbulent times. So that is what we call as a resilience quotient. Now, is that enough? Now, I'm saying that, you have good intelligence, you can manage your emotions, you can also be resilient, you have a good resiliency quotient. So I started wondering, is that enough? Or probably, am I really resilient as I think? So I took this test, okay, on this website, and there's a few questions that I took, and I used to think I'm a fairly resilient person. But look at my score; it's 68 only out of 100, and I'm above average, of course, but definitely I can do much better. I always look for some positive thing in chaotic situation. So I'm optimist. I am a little flexible, and I know that I can manage and take control over what happens, right? But definitely, this is not something that I was expecting. 68 seems to me a little poorer score than what I had. So this is again a self-awareness that I was talking about, right? So I would request you or urge you to take this, test whenever at your leisure and find out your resilience quotient. So resiliency is this is my resilience quotient, and I spoke what resiliency is all about. Probably I have some ability to bounce back, but that may not be enough for me to thrive in this ultra VUCA, the COVID era. So what actually it is required to thrive in this era? Yeah. So I would think, what is this? This is fragility, right? So obviously fragility is not what we are looking at. We are looking at anti-fragility. So anti-fragility is going beyond resilience or robustness. So the resilience actually resists the shocks, right? As I said that I dropped this iPhone on the floor and it doesn't break means I'm a resilient person. And this, not a person, of course, this device is resilient. But what if I drop this iPhone and I get two iPhones out of it? I wish it was true. That is what we call as anti-fragility. That is navigating through the chaos and evolving out much better than what I was before. So that is what, and this is the word, that concept that was developed by Professor uh, Nassim Taleb in his book Anti-Fragile. And Taleb, of course, believes that we must learn how to make our lives more anti-fragile so that we become less vulnerable to randomness and chaos. All right, so let us move on. Okay, so what is, now that we know what is resiliency, what is agility, and what is anti-fragility, let us see what is, what is the difference between agility as well as anti-fragility. While agility talks about responding to change, anti-fragility tells about gaining from this chaos. And as I said, we do not have the luxury to respond to change. Agility talks about embracing the change through inspecting and adapting. Yes, that is true. But there is no option to fail fast now. So we can do experimentation as agility tells us to do. And it says that, fail fast. But right now we don't have an option to fail. We just have to learn fast, conduct small experiments, and which we call as probes, and how we can learn from them and scale them. Anti-fragility, therefore, emphasizing on embracing chaos and adapting and evolving. So my 2 cents from it is, yes, resilience is good, agility is good, but to survive or thrive, we would have to go little beyond, become little anti-fragile. So how do you become anti-fragile? The question comes, right? So the first thing that we have to understand, that we have to understand this real situation. It is no good to put our head into the sand and think things will work out fine. No, it will not work out fine unless we take some action. As I said, it begins with you. So take the stock of the situation. Understand that that my life has a purpose. Again, it starts with me. So people might be thinking that it is all about self-centricity. Yes, it starts with you. If you are not agile, not anti-fragile, you cannot set an example as a leader to your teams. Have an unwavering belief that my life is purposeful. Creating a purpose is a way that anti-fragile people build a bridge between the current state to the future state, and obviously improvise and adapt. And there have been, I know in my life that I have experienced many stunning, successful, and some fantastic failures as well. And I've considered them all as learning opportunities. And of course, failing fast right now is not an option. We have to learn fast, conduct those small experiments, and use plan A. And if plan A does not work, don't forget there are 26 more letters in the English alphabet, A to Z. We can keep on trying, keep on learning, and we can, scale based on our learnings on those experiments. Okay. So now that we have taken care of our team, time to take care of taken care of myself. It was time to take care of my team as well. And obviously the half the work was done when I could understand my own persona and take actions to make myself a more balanced person. So that's a team. As they try to ride through the coronavirus pandemic, people are stressed and scared about not only about themselves, but about others, about the state of the world. And those who were lucky enough to be healthy and working from home, their work suddenly becomes very trivial. Because as you know, humans are like, social animals, and separated physically from their co-workers, from their workplace, from their customers, things does not look too good there. And they sometimes find themselves alone with their computers and having some touch base remotely, sporadically, and they feel lost. And here is a time where leaders like us should help them to understand their purpose, their goals, and align them to the project as well as organization's goal. So why things change? Why do they feel so, dejected and rejected at this point of time? Okay. So remember Maslow, and I've seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs never go out of trend. It is always in trend. And till the start of March 2020, we all thought we were here, right? On the first two, self-actualization and esteem needs. And come March 22nd, 2020, the first thing that happened is that we all tumbled down, all the way down to the last, the bottom two layers, that is safety and psychological needs. And when the people all over the world, we were trying to, quarantining ourselves and taking care of our safety and psychological need, probably that was not the right time to talk about self-actualization and mastery and purpose. Correct? And we have seen that, not only we have seen, like, not only people, but I would also say that I also ordered a few more packets of Maggie than what I actually required, right? And frankly, mapping to this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is directly was mapping to the safety and the psychological needs that we were going through. So, and obviously, as we navigated through the quarantine phase, we are like slowly and steadily. I think we are here right now, still belonging, love needs, because we are connecting with our friends, people over the digital media. But still, we have some time to go up there in the esteem and the self-actualization needs. So we need, as leaders, we need to understand how we can make them feel safe, as well as tell them that their safety matters to us. If there is any health concern, we can kind of, as an organization, we can help them to tie over that. And how do we, we can also tell them that, like there were cases where work from home was not possible in few cases, where people use lab setups for the testing the heavy, equipments like a CT scanner and all. And at that point of time, we had to shut down the operations. We could not allow our team members to take that risk, go to office and complete the work for us. And as you know, that this will go a long way if we kind of be with our team members, we kind of give them this safety as net at this point of time when they really need it. They will definitely remember this for a long, long period to come, and they will become more engaged and more inspired to be working with organization. Now, I saw this interesting graph that on Medium, and this is an individual who was mapping the shopping habits to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we saw that mostly people are e-shopping on supermarket, that is food and other essentials. And then it came to the safety needs, and this telecom, bank, insurance, cosmetics, healthcare. These are probably all esteem needs. And you see luxury items, they are negative. Entertainment, even tourism, they are negative. So you try to map the shopping habits online to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and which really proves that we are probably had gone down to this bottom two layers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so how do we motivate our team? We all knew Daniel Pink told us, Simon Sinek told us that start with the why. And Daniel Pink told us that, if you have a purpose and a mastery, and people will be engaged, team will be engaged to our organization as well as the project. So what do we do? At this point of time, yes, why is important, but we might need to help them to define how to reach that why, that flag on the top of the hill. Yes, how to reach that. And that is about discovering the team, help the team to discover their personal purpose. And we could do that by asking a few questions like, what is my job now? How do I help my project to succeed? And what do I want out of my career? Because people are confused and they are irritated. They don't know exactly what they're getting out of this job or career. So this is a time we can encourage our team to reflect on opportunities to recraft their jobs And leaders like us can can find a ways to talk to our employees and show them this new ways of working, and what abilities that they bring to the table, what capabilities that they bring to the table in their work in the weeks and the months and years to come. So it is good to repurpose or the why, but definitely at this point of time, our teams may need some help in defining the how. Last but not the least, maintain diversity and inclusion. And interestingly, today in the PMI India Manage India magazine, I have a small article about how to become a more inclusive leader in the COVID era. And this is about I'm talking about diversity in the terms of, not only in terms of gender, but in terms of generations, in terms of uh, race, ethnicity. And we know that these are chaotic times, and if we are not being an inclusive leader, we might lose on those innovative ideas, right? All those stellar ideas. So when we, but there were some cases where I saw that things were not moving in the right direction. For example, my DPA, who was a little elderly person, and he's a very intelligent person, and he has a lot of experience. I suddenly realized that he was being very silent on the calls, and probably sometimes he was kind of not even coming for the calls. And when we obviously that is something that I noticed, and I kind of reached out to him. I realized that he was anxious because he was a little elderly person, and people were talking about how people above 60 are more prone to this disease, and that was making him more anxious. Secondly, he was not comfortable with this virtual way of working, because he always liked face-to-face communication. He knew how to use Zoom or Teams or other collaboration, Slack, other collaboration mediums, but he didn't know up to using like the whiteboard, using those collaborative way of working, and that's why he was stepping back. So these were the times where we as leaders should go and have peer coaching circles, we can say that, and coach those individuals to come up to speed. We had team members who were young parents, right? My kids are grown up, still I'm having a lot of pressure. But remember, people who have like kids who are 1 or 2 years old, and with the daycare shut down, obviously it becomes very difficult for them to manage both the work and family. And that's where we kind of reach out to those women and those men as well, kind of coaching them how to manage the stuff. And slowly and steadily they come to the mainstream. We had things like I was hearing the other day on the news channel about the northern east part of India. So we share a big border with quite a big border with China. And northern eastern part of India was actually COVID free at that point of time. Now we do have a few cases coming in, but there are comments, on people, although they were Indians, but in the same country they were called as coronavirus. When we didn't even have they were the least affected states. So those kind of kind of racial slurs probably we'll have to look out for and ensure that this is this is not kind of accepted. And these behaviors we cannot marginalize anyone. And if you think that our teams are getting isolated, we need to see that and ensure that we coach them, not only the person who is creating these problems, but also the person who is getting marginalized, and get them into the mainstream. So is everything bad in this corona thing? Well, I saw people saying that these are opportunities, and I think necessity is the mother of invention, and it often is. And we have seen that there are many positive outcomes that are coming out of corona. And this is actually, we are becoming more and more human. We understand planet Earth much better, and I'm sure our habits will change. We will think of more about deforestation and other things that are affecting our Mother Earth. So that is a positive thing. I was giving my icebreaker speech for Toastmasters, and I looked into the future, and I talked about how the era will be post-COVID, post-lockdown, and how the pollution level will go down, how people will move towards the rural areas, because now our digital infrastructure is strengthened so much that people will not even bother to go to a rural area and do the work from there. We who were not very much comfortable with working from home, right now we are all working from home, so we have understood how to make work from home more productive. But we have to ensure that we are not burning out our team members. If you look at it, people have become more and more compassionate, they are empathizing with each other because they know the meaning of social connection more now. So when if I look back on myself, I have from March 22nd onwards, I have at least presented 15 webinars and a few virtual conferences, and I've been presenting in Asia, Europe, Africa in 1 month. And I don't think it would have been possible if COVID had not come, or if this digital platform was not there. I don't think I would have been able to do that. First of all, I wouldn't have been able to travel. People have become more, open to the virtual thing, and that gave me all these opportunities. The fact that I'm speaking to you from Mumbai today is possible only because of the digital infrastructure that we have today. So for businesses, consequences have been profound. Some have learned how to operate remotely, as I said, much greater speed. And these practices probably will stick. I think it will keep sticking, making better management and more flexible workforces. We'll be able to access any talent pool across any part of the world today, and we'll definitely become a more better, innovative team. Okay, so what's the next? Actually, I saw this article on JDNet, and it said overnight digital transformation year 2025, 60 months early. I never expected that to happen. And we all talked about digital transformation and how we have to adapt and all that stuff. But suddenly, one day the switch was flipped on, and we suddenly we transformed ourselves digitally. So there is an age-old saying which says, tough times don't last, but tough people do last. And optimism is something that is going to take us through these chaotic times. And the next will probably require a paradigm shift in strategy. And the agile are the ones who will survive through these turbulent times. But the anti-fragile are the ones who will thrive in this ultra VUCA world, the COVID era and beyond. So with this, Merv, I would like to hand the stage over to you, and we can look at what the questions, as well as what are we going to do differently from tomorrow after this webinar.
Okay, so just sharing my screen now.
Sure.
And thank you very much for that. That's been absolutely fascinating. We always ask this question, a reflective practice question, for your benefit and for the audience benefit. What have you learned, or what do you do differently as a result of attending this webinar? So you can see some fantastic responses already beginning to come in.
Wow.
I personally liked that chill out more, because I've got to move myself from a place of being a workaholic towards the other end of the scale. I'd be happy if I got to a balanced one, but so keep those coming in. And one of the things that we will do then is we have a few questions here, but we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to ask Priya if she can pick those up. Probably just time for two. So one, what tactics can be used when a leader at the top of an organization are anxious, workaholic, command and control freaks, wanting more reports and micromanagement? So what tactics?
Okay. So we have to, as I said, right, we have to set those limits. Okay. So I was getting emails at the middle of the night and I was responding to them, right? Just ignoring my onshore team who is already there, and that person can respond to the email in my absence. So what we can do is that we can set those limits saying that, yeah, I am there till 8 p.m. tonight to answer to all your queries, and whatever comes in, anything that comes beyond that, I expect my onshore counterpart to take place, because that's when his working time starts. That we can do. And slowly, yeah, obviously you will get a pushback at the first few instances, but I saw this slowly and steadily it becomes the nature. They know that yes, Priya is not going to answer this call at this point of time. She is not going to do that, and obviously there is someone else, so they will reach out to the onshore counterpart, and you can have a talk with your onshore counterpart to ensure that that person responds post you retire for the day. So that is one of the tactics that I have used. Yes, slowly and steady. It has to happen over time. It cannot be just one day I stop, responding to that. I can obviously have a talk with my manager and say that this time I'll be working. After this, I will ensure that this gets done. And obviously there will be some pushback in the beginning, but slowly and steadily it will come to.
Okay.
Come on.
And I guess one more in terms of one of the exchanges I've had in the Q&A is around culture or countries. In some countries maybe just wired to be more workaholic than others, and has this just made workaholics worse, or what? So this kind of predisposal to essentially one persona or another, does it just merely kind of amplify or extenuate that?
Yeah, so now probably, yes, this was a very, very turbulent time that mankind is going through. I would think, yes, workaholics will be pushed to their edge. But as I said, you cannot carry on as a workaholic forever. So there is a time where you will burn down. So it is better that we take action and we kind of, step back, think about it, and take it forward that way. Yes, culturally it differs as well. I know there are some cultures who will always work and they will create that kind of stress. Yes, it differs, but there is a spectrum, right? You cannot be from one end to another. Yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely brilliant. And I'm just sharing some more of that reflective practice that's come in. So we'll spend some time going through that, and those results will be available to others as well. So again, thank you for all your responses to Mentimeter. Okay, Priya, I shall a really big thank you for that.
Yeah.
One of the kind of amusing things I found is that you're 4.5 hours ahead of us. This kind of half hour really kind of does my head in. But thank you for making the time towards the end of your working day, hopefully.
Sure.
And then just some information about some upcoming events. So on Wednesday this week, we're really looking forward to Andrew Payne, top TED speaker. He's going to talk about getting more without getting busier or burnt out. And then we have another speaker, Dawn Mehan from the US, creating a culture that values project management, the top 10 countdown checklist you can use immediately or now. And then finally, we've got details of a talk by PMI CEO, Sunil Parashara, and that's a straight talk with PMI leaders. So there's 3 things coming up very quickly, and we've got a whole lot more, so do check out our website for further information. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. You'll have seen that the handout is available for you to download, but we'll also put that up in the website. So yeah, we're up to time. Thank you once again, Priya.
Thank you. All right. So thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.